How many garbage pickers do I have in the house today? Honestly, you guys, I feel like I was born to garbage pick, find items that other people feel are completely junk and turn them into beautiful treasures. I'm always trying to see the beauty in an item, and what caught my eye was these beautiful spindles, and I knew right away I had to rescue this table. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video, I hope to inspire you to find something on the roadside. Yes, you heard me right. As you're driving along, if you see something that really somebody else feels is a piece of garbage and you see some beauty in it, pull on over, throw it in your back end, and in today's video, I am going to show you how to take that piece of trash and turn it into a beautiful treasure. So stick around and I'm gonna walk you through the steps that I took to transform this table. For starters, I'm going to remove the top. Whoever owned this, obviously something happened to the top, and instead of trying to fix it right away, they must have just set it outside, and the top became very saturated with water. And as you're gonna see, once I remove it, that it is all falling apart and it's unsavable. So I'm just taking my screwdriver and I'm unscrewing these. I was going to use my screw gun, but I could not find the right bit. So 2024, I need to get a little bit organized or more organized with my tools and where I set them. After I completely unscrew it, now this is what I'm going to show you. I'm removing the base, and once I remove the base, you can see the waves from the water that was sitting on there, and it literally falls apart. So the other thing, I thought about just removing that top piece and the bottom piece, but the center was all warped. So it was a complete loss. I tossed it, I brought the base inside, and let's start transforming the base. Whenever I am flipping an item, I always try to reuse everything I possibly can. These screws I'm gonna reuse, so I take them and I put them all together and set them aside and put them in a spot where I know I will not forget about them. Because this piece has been outside for a while, it is very dirty. I definitely need to clean this. The one thing that I do leave typically out of my videos is the prep work that goes into the pieces. I have been accused of not doing any proper prepping or cleaning of my items. I just leave that out because I feel like everybody knows you should wash your small pieces. But in today's video, we are gonna prep it. To start the prep work, I am now carrying Fusion. I am using Fusion's TSP alternative, and let me tell you guys, this is a great item to use to clean your piece. Whether it be a furniture piece or your smalls, take 2 capfuls of the TSP, put it in warm water. Yes, I did drop my cap in the water. Just shake it off, put it right back on, and mix it up and then start cleaning. I used to always just clean my items with warm water or soapy water, and honestly, with this solution, it gets it so much cleaner. When I was deciding whether or not to offer Fusion in my product line, another stockist told me about the TSP, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it, see how I feel about it. And she's like, clean something with just warm water or soapy water, go back and clean it with this, and you will still get more dirt off. And she was completely right. And from there, I was completely sold. So I go through the entire piece, wash it with the TSP, let it dry, and then we're gonna go on to the next step. Because of the water damage, on one side, these brackets were very, very loose. I decided to wiggle them enough and see if I could get them off so that I could re-glue them properly, which I was able to. So I cleaned up the area. I broke out Type Bond, which is definitely my go-to glue, and I applied glue in each of the holes. over the top, and then I went to the piece and I applied a little bit more glue to each of the tops of the little wood dowels that were sticking out, and then in the center and on each side of the dowel. And what I do is I just wiggle it around and I get that piece go all the way down and really fit. And before I move any further, I am going to let the glue dry and then we're gonna paint it. You may have noticed that on this side, while I was cleaning it, a chunk of the bracket actually fell off. And that probably was due to the water damage. We're gonna fix that part first and then we're gonna reattach it. So I'm using the Titebond again. I'm going to apply a little bit of Titebond to around that hole or that opening, because that opening fits in for the dowel. And then I'm going to use blue tape and I'm going to hold this in place and let it dry. So it's been drying for a bit. What I'm going to do, I'm leaving the blue tape on and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did to the other side. I am going to apply some of the Titebond glue. I'm going to put it all on and then let it dry a little bit this way, then remove the blue tape. I'm taking a look at the different paint colors that I want to go with. Here's crinoline and here is white swan. White swan has definitely been my go-to color lately for whites, but I decided to use sepia blossom, which is a Roycycled Decoupage paper, and the crinoline, you guys, is a perfect match. So what I'm doing for starters is I am using the Perfectionist paintbrush from DIY, and I am taking the crinoline and I am going to apply 2 even coats of crinoline to the entire piece. The reason I went with the Perfectionist is that it gets into all the details and it is a perfect solution for these spindles. You guys know I keep every bit of wood, and this was actually a perfect fit for a new top. I am taking the sepia blossom paper. I'm trying to figure out how I want to lay this paper. I want a lot of the bees in here. I want a chunk of that yellowish flower on the bottom, those round like stamps. And I am cutting the paper. I always want to leave a little bit of an overhang. So anytime you're using a Roycycled paper or any decoupage paper for that fact, you'll want to leave a little bit of an overhang so that when you lay it down, if it doesn't lay perfectly, that's okay, because that little overhang is going to give you some wiggle room. Another thing that I do recommend, if you want your paper to really pop, you can apply a layer of white paint underneath your decoupage paper. Yes, you do not have to do this step, but I really want the colors of that paper to pop. I want it's not a very vibrant paper. It is called sepia blossom, but I still don't want it to blend into the wood. And if you actually look, the crinoline is not that big of a difference from the wood grain, but I don't want the grains of the wood to be popping through the paper. So I'm applying just 1 even coat of the crinoline to both sides of this board. I let it dry and then I realized that I do not want a really harsh edge to my board. So I take it outside, I use my hand sander, and I round all the edges. Now, this is probably not the best video to be testing a new technique, but I noticed that Royce, what she does is she mists her decoupage paper to allow for stretch. So typically what I do, guys, is I do a starter strip. I lay my paper down, I do a starter strip. But because this is a bigger board, I thought, well, I'm going to try Royce's technique. It actually worked really good. I was fumbling around because this is the first time that I've tried this. So what I did is I took my misting bottle, I misted the entire piece. I did have a starter strip started. Once I missed my paper, I laid it down. I then took my brush and I basically worked out all the wrinkles. And after it was all said and done, there were virtually no wrinkles in this piece at all. I'm very impressed with it, and I would recommend misting your piece with water prior to applying it to the decoupage paper. Well, the decoupage paper is drying, the base is completely dry, and we are going to start wet distressing. And this allows you to have a whole lot more control over where you distress your piece. Plus, you guys, I really liked that color that was underneath. If I would have used a hand sander here, it would have possibly just gone right down to the grain of the wood, and I really wanted that color to pop through. So I am just randomly going over all the raised surfaces initially and just trying to take away a little bit of the crinoline to have that green. It's kind of like a bluish green, like kind of pop through. And if you actually look at the sepia blossom paper, that same color is in that paper as well. So I am just, like I said, randomly going here and there and just do that over all the raised surfaces. After I do that, then I go randomly over the flat surfaces just here and there as well. When I started this project, I knew right away that this was something that I wanted to do, wet distressing. So it was definitely my go-to to break out DIY paint. It's a perfect paint to use if you want to wet distress or blend different colors. And as you can see here, until you seal it, you can manipulate the paint however you want. Here it is. I love how that under color just pops through here and there. And once I put the top on, it's going to tie the whole piece together perfectly. After it's all dry, I use Big Top to completely seal my piece. Anytime you're using DIY paint, you can reactivate your paint until it is sealed, and you can seal it with any type of top coat such as Big Top, a wax, a poly, whatever you have on hand. My go-to is definitely Big Top. I love the sheen of it. I love the durability. So I am applying one even coat to the entire base, and I'm going to let this dry, and we're going to finish the top. To finish the top, the first thing I want to do is take a piece of sandpaper and get rid of the excess decoupage paper. So in a downward motion, you will want to sand your decoupage paper. If you would have actually gone in an upward motion or side to side, you have a greater chance of pulling the paper off of your piece. So it is definitely recommended a downward motion. Go around your entire piece and remove the excess paper. Now that that's done, do you guys remember when I found this whole entire cigar box full of bits? Well, now it's time to reattach the base to this top. I wanted to find the perfect size bit, and how you decide that is you look at your screw and you find a bit that's just a little bit smaller. So for starters, what I do is I take the base and I am going to line it up on my top. I'm not going to eyeball it. I have been burned too many times. I'm breaking out a ruler and I am going to measure from top to bottom and side to side to make sure that my base is on perfectly. Then the next step is to take your screw gun, and this is key, guys. You want to drill a hole, but you don't want it too deep because you don't want to drill through the top. Remember those screws that you put in a safe spot? Grab those and reattach your base to your top. And now it's finally time to do the final touches to your piece. Because this is an end table, I am going to apply 2 to 3 coats of Big Top to the entire top of this piece. That way, if anybody is setting a glass on there, it gives it that added protection. I wanted to give you guys a peek of one of my recent curbside finds. On Friday, I'm bringing my daughter to school. I was sicker than a dog, and this was on the curb. I could not pass it up. So I pulled over, I tossed it in the back of my truck, and this was partially the inspiration of the color palette in today's video. I love that creamy, buttery yellow. And that really drove me to choose Sepia Blossom from Roycycled Paper because that buttery yellow really pops out here and there in that paper. And the color crinoline, honestly, you guys, just complements that paper so perfectly. And the pops of green from the previous color just tied this whole the piece perfectly together. I could not be more happy with how this turned out, and I cannot wait to get this in my booth. Have I inspired each and every one of you to be garbage pickers? Well, I sure hope so. Don't take my garbage though. Anyway, I just hope I've inspired you to take an item that you were going to toss or that maybe a friend of yours is gonna toss or you find on the roadside and you transform it into a beautiful treasure. Because honestly, just a little paint, paper, and time completely transformed that table, and I prevented it from going into the landfill. So I rescued that beautiful table, and I hope that I've inspired you to rescue something yourself. So I have been, honestly, you guys, so sick. I have not left the couch all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and now today is Monday, and I transformed that this morning. I am feeling a ton better, not 100%, but I am going live tonight, so I hope to see you guys all at 6 o'clock for my live. I am going live on both Facebook and YouTube, so I hope to see you then. You guys have yourselves a great week, and we'll see you Friday. Bye.